ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our singing star, Miss Kitty Reed.
In 1997, literature was changed forever. A new type of novel was born. The Christian fiction and romance markets were fundamentally altered by the publication of one book. All this melodrama is to say happy birthday to the Shunning. 25 years ago, Beverly Lewis created Amish fiction and became the genre's undisputed queen. Hello world, this is Miss Kitty Reed. On this special episode of Amish Book Club, I have my assistant Kanani. She's the 2011 American Girl of the Year. The Shunning is a masterfully written book by itself, but it also reveals a lot about Amish fiction and why it became what it is today. But before we talk about that, let's discuss the plot of this first book of the Heritage of Lancaster County series. We are introduced to Katie Lapp, a 22-year-old Amish woman living in Hickory Hollow, an isolated community in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Katie's wedding day is soon approaching. She will marry 40-year-old widower Bishop John Byler and become stepmother to his 5 children. Katie has struggled throughout her life with her desire for forbidden things: music, playing the guitar, wearing her hair down, and a love of all things beautiful. She doesn't quite fit in. In fact, she doesn't even look Amish as the only girl with red hair in the community. She wonders if she can be a good wife due to her struggles, and the fact that she still loves someone else. Her first love, Daniel Fisher, died 3 years ago in a boating accident, but his body was never found. While in the attic looking for her mother's wedding dress, Katie discovers a rose-colored baby dress. She is filled with excitement and dances around the room, though that is forbidden since she is a baptized Amish woman. Stitched into the dress is the name Catherine Mayfield. Katie's brothers bring her down from the attic to have supper with their parents, Samuel and Rebecca. Katie tells them that it is a burden to be Amish, and that she continually fails to resist the temptation of music. Samuel reprimands her, and Katie agrees to confess her sins to Bishop John. When Katie asks Rebecca who Catherine Mayfield is, her mother faints, worried what Katie will discover. The next day, Katie goes to look for the dress again, but it is gone. Rebecca hid it from her. Katie goes to visit her best friend, Mary Stoltzfus, and discovers the women are having a quilting bee to make her wedding present. Mary can see that something is bothering Katie, but she refuses to talk where others might overhear. We are also introduced to Ella Mae Zook, called the Wise Woman, an elderly woman who everyone, even the bishop, has gone to for advice. We learn through Rebecca's memories that Katie is adopted. Rebecca's daughter was stillborn, and the doctor at the hospital said she would never have more children than her 3 boys. A teenage girl had just given birth and was looking to give up her baby for adoption. She gave little Catherine Mayfield to the Lapps, along with some money, and they never saw each other again. The baby was renamed Katie and presented to the community as Rebecca's biological child. Rebecca vows to never tell Katie the truth, and so hides the dress in the basement. Meanwhile, Katie hums a song she wrote with Daniel on her way home from Mary's. Jacob, Bishop John's son, overhears her engaging in the forbidden act. He innocently mentions it at supper when Katie and her family are present. Samuel is quite upset and tells her on the way home that he will report her sins to Bishop John the next day. Katie goes over to Mary's at night to discuss her fears of marriage. Mary remarks that Katie does not like to be Amish, but she is stuck. Bishop John's son Levi says that a woman riding in a limo stopped by the house and asked for directions. The next morning at the general store, he learns Ella Mae saw the woman too. As Ella Mae waits in her buggy, the woman approaches her and asks for an Amish woman named Rebecca who has a 22-year-old daughter. She gives her a letter for anyone who would fit that description. Ella Mae realizes the woman, Laura Mayfield Bennett, is Katie's biological mother. The time for Katie's confession has arrived. Bishop John stays after a work frolic at Katie's house to prepare for the wedding. He orders her to stop singing and destroys the guitar, which he calls the instrument of evil. Katie agrees. Ella Mae gives the letter to Rebecca. She learns that Laura Mayfield Bennett is dying, and her wish is to see Katie before she dies. Rebecca is afraid Katie will be taken away and throws the letter into the fire. Katie cannot bring herself to destroy Daniel's guitar, so she hides it in the basement. While there, she discovers the baby dress. When Katie confronts her parents, they refuse to talk to her. Rebecca and Samuel agree that Katie needs to get married so that even if the truth comes out, it will be too late. Katie goes to Ella May for advice, and she tells her to talk to her mother with love. Samuel and Rebecca give Katie some dowry money, which grew with interest from money Laura gave for Katie's care. Katie tells her parents she needs to know the truth behind the baby dress. Her parents reveal that she is adopted. Katie seems to take the news well and acts like nothing is wrong the next day when friends and relatives come over to clean the house. She does not even tell Mary about her adoption, even though she does say she will not be able to go through with the wedding. Mary says she is supposed to be marrying the bishop. It is Katie's wedding day. She thinks of the love she still has for Daniel. Questions and doubts and thoughts rush through her mind. The wedding service begins and Katie is still unsure. The preacher asks if anyone has an objection to the marriage. Katie says she is not fit to marry Bishop John and runs out. Everyone is shocked. Rebecca searches for Katie and knows she is on an island in a nearby lake, but though she refuses to talk to her mother. Katie takes off her cap and braids her hair. Mary tries to convince Katie she was wrong and needs to go through with the wedding, but Katie asserts that she was never meant to be Amish. Later, Katie goes into town to try on beautiful dresses. She stops at her brother's house on the way home. He, along with everyone else, is disgusted at her and yells at her for not wearing her cap. When she gets home, her father does the same. Katie learns she will be shunned if she does not repent on Sunday for running off at the bishop's wedding. Over her mother's wishes, Katie tells the preacher of her adoption, but refuses to confess and repent. At the church service, it is decided that Katie will be shunned for 6 weeks. No church member can talk with her, eat at the same table with her, or do business with her. Samuel sets up a small table for her to eat her meals alone. And so the shunning begins. Samuel and Rebecca cannot even acknowledge when she talks. Katie throws rocks at Mary's window, and though she does not speak, puts a hand to the window and backs away. The only person who welcomes her is Ella May, who listens patiently. The church leaders have been clamping down on Ella May, discouraging people from confiding in her. She tells Katie to take her chance to go to the outside world. She also reveals the existence of the letter from Katie's biological mother, which Rebecca did not tell her about. Then Ella May notices something. Her daughter Maddie, who has harbored a grudge against Rebecca for not letting her be a midwife at Katie's birth, has been eavesdropping. She spreads the news to everyone. When Katie and Rebecca are alone, she attempts to get her mother to speak. Rebecca tries to resist, but they hug and cuddle. Katie tells her she will never repent and so must leave home. She will stay with Mennonite relatives before searching for her biological mother. Rebecca tells her that she lives in New York State. Rebecca and Katie go to see the new son of Katie's brother Elam and his wife Annie. Annie was Daniel's sister and so named the baby for him. Katie is not even allowed to hold the baby, and her shunning is even blamed for causing Annie to go into early labor. Then we get a chapter from the point of view of Laura Mayfield Bennett, who is extremely wealthy. She is getting progressively weaker. She was 17 when pregnant with Katie from a boyfriend who left her. Her mother took her on a relaxing trip to Lancaster County, where she was charmed by the Amish. When she saw Samuel and Rebecca, she knew her baby would have a good life with them. Laura prays that God will let her see her daughter before she dies, but accepts that might not be God's will. Back in Hickory Hollow, Katie sneaks into Mary's room to say goodbye. At breakfast the next day, Katie announces she will leave while the family attends a wedding. No one reacts, but Rebecca runs back inside to hug her daughter one last time. She gives her the dowry money to fund her new life. Katie secretly leaves behind the baby dress for her mother. Katie moves in with Mennonite relative Lydia Miller, who drives her to Daniel's grave and then to Ella May's house. Her daughter Maddie is standing by her window, so all Ella May can do is smile and shed a tear. At home, Samuel demands that the family never speak Katie's name again. Annie, Katie's brother's wife, who just had the baby, gets a letter. She is shocked to read that her brother Daniel is alive and wants to come back home. He says he still loves Katie and keeps a dim hope alive that she never married. Katie, though sorrowful, is filled with hope of finding her biological mother and is excited to be finally free of Amish life. I want to begin by saying that The Shunning deserves a 7 out of 7 rating. It is such a well-written book that keeps you engaged and immersed in the world of Hickory Hollow. All hail Queen Beverly Lewis. She makes you feel so deeply for Katie. The characters are so realistic. Mary and Rebecca especially become dear to your heart. There's also the sense of foreboding throughout the book. You know what will happen by the title, and the book builds toward it so well. We see the evangelical messages clearly but subtly in the book. Katie wants to follow her own path, while the Amish are all about rules and conformity. Ella May tells Katie that thinking and submitting to the Amish ways don't mix. Although Katie has major reservations about marrying Bishop John, Mary tells her that this is what she must do because she is supposed to do it. Katie's heartfelt prayers come out in common speech, not rote prayers in High German. Daniel joined a forbidden Mennonite Bible study and was critical of the Amish. All of these scenarios mirror the evangelical emphasis on personal faith over rules and structure, but you are never beat over the head with Christian themes. I want to take a moment to recognize this because this is an example of Christian media being amazing and Christian at the same time. Often I come across poorly made books and movies that are so terrible that the only people who will engage with them are those who want safe media that does not contradict their faith and willfully ignore the many obvious flaws. We should want more. Christian media does not have to be synonymous with bad storytelling. We can and should expect people like Beverly Lewis to create exemplary fiction for Christian audiences. Quality does not need to be sacrificed. The Shunning is distinguished in another important way by the different view of the Amish that Beverly Lewis has compared to later writers. Her view of the Amish is critical but not condescending. The Shunning focuses on the most controversial and heartbreaking practice of the Amish. Amish rules are portrayed as arbitrary and unbiblical ways of restricting freedom. The Shunning is the story of Katie's liberation from the Amish. However, the positive and attractive parts of Amish life are shown. Katie lives in a stone house built by her ancestors where she eats delicious home-cooked meals. The Amish are a tight-knit community who help each other, whether to clean a house or make a quilt. Although the wedding does not end in a marriage, the descriptions of the traditions are so sweet. Young Laura Mayfield was so charmed by the Amish that she gave her baby to strangers. So this book is far from being anti-Amish. It could best be described as Amish realist. But that distinguishes it from most Amish fiction books, which are unquestionably celebratory of the Amish. I find it strange that the Shunning is so different in that regard to the genre it pioneered. But perhaps the Amish are used in literature in varied ways to reflect the concerns and feelings of mainstream non-Amish society. Amish fiction shows a group set apart, geographically, ideologically, technologically, from modernity, and are thus seen as keepers of a purity of lifestyle we ourselves have sullied. The Amish have a Christian utopia where everyone shares the same values and no one would dream to incorporate beliefs to the contrary. Amish fiction exists because on some level we want what the Amish have. Therefore, Amish fiction is not really about the Amish. It's about what we see reflected back at us and our society when we use the Amish as a mirror for ourselves. I listened to an audiobook version of The Shunning to keep my mind focused on this project. It is a 2003 recording from Blackstone. It goes to show how popular The Shunning was to have an audiobook come out 6 years after it was first published. However, this was a poor rendition. The reader had a strange cadence and tone. She did not put a lot of emotion into the dialogue, and this is a book filled with crying and yelling and emotional displays. It does not convey the emotional depth of the story. The reader also tends to make her Amish accent sound Scottish, which is both distracting and kind of funny. Hallmark made a movie of The Shunning in 2011, again proving how long-lasting the book's popularity is. The movie is not an adaptation, but rather loosely based on the book. Yes, I'm one of those the book is better people, but in this case it's true. The Shunning is set up like a soap opera and would translate well into a scene-by-scene remake. Of course, the directors thought they knew better. First of all, Katie does not have red hair. It is frequently referenced that Katie and her biological mother have distinctive red hair. No one could be bothered to go down to the drugstore and get hair dye. Really? The baby dress, which sets the book's plot in motion, is only briefly featured in the film. The movie was in general incoherent and not engaging. I did enjoy seeing Daniel and Ella May. They translated well into a movie format. On the whole, I would not recommend this movie to fans of The Shunning or to people just wanting a good movie. I truly hope I examine this book to the fullest, as it justly deserves. Happy birthday to the Shunning! We will continue on in the Heritage of Lancaster County series in the future, but our next book will be Her Secret Amish Child by Cheryl Williford. Please check with your local library to see if they have it on the shelves. If not, I am sure they would be happy to get it for you through interlibrary loan. Her Secret Amish Child is also available as a free, safe ebook download from a website called Z Library. Kanani would like to remind all of you out there on the information superhighway to share your opinions in the comments and look at the video description for important links. This has been Amish Book Club with Miss Kitty Reed. This is Miss Kitty Reed and Kanani signing off. See you later in Amish Book Club.
Living in the river.